History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. That is the ancient wisdom of markets, and it is, in my experience, mostly true. Now, one of the rhyming features that we did see in 2021 cycle was Ethereum kind of mirroring the run that Bitcoin had more or less in 2017, 2018. So I wanted to now come back and compare this as things do start to potentially bottom out, and well, see kind of where we're at within that whole idea. So without further ado, I want to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel. Once again, a faceless menace in the middle of the Finnish forests of who knows where, because I certainly do not, but going to be back in the regular little battle station very, very soon here. So you know what, I'm going to make this one short and sweet, painless, and let's just jump right into the analysis of the day. So here's Ethereum, going over the past about year and a half now, since it did start to put in what seems to be a low and bottoming formation over the course of about a year and a few months now. In this case, a few things stand out. First and foremost, we do see what could be an ascending triangle coming off the lows right here. We've seen Bitcoin actually bottom off on ascending triangles on the macro scale a couple times now, actually, throughout the history. And we also do see the volume signature that you would expect on something like this as well, where we do see tailing off volume from left to right here, as that does imply that this formation is getting more and more mature, thus kind of verifying this as an ascending triangle. Now, I do want to take a second to explain ascending triangles or just any pattern to begin with. So I am not a big pattern trader. I'm actually it's not that I'm against them, it's just I don't really care for them. I think that most of them are Jesus toast. But if there's a couple patterns that I think do work, it's ascending and descending triangles. Not symmetrical triangles, I think those are mostly bullshit, but things with, horizontal boundaries. And again, when we're talking about these sort of things, when we're talking about patterns, they basically always come down to trend. Why is an ascending triangle more or less bullish? Because you got higher lows. Why is a descending triangle bearish? Because you got lower highs. That's what pretty much every pattern comes down to in essence. So you don't really necessarily need to memorize every damn pattern. And then of course, it just means that there's a higher probability in breaking out in the direction. In this case, that would be to the upside over time as it does mature. Now, with that said, higher probability, which I believe is probably in like the low 60%, is not a 100% certainty, but that is what we're here to do. Is we're here to look at statistics. So this would kind of mark off as one for me. But I want to take this a couple steps further. So first things first, let's mark off all of the critical regions that we've seen over the past year and a few months, and then we'll kind of compare it to what we look at on Bitcoin. And I think that you might find some interesting things. So first and foremost, the move to the downside that we did see on this relatively shallow spike on volume here did come down to obviously this wick. So I'm going to mark that area off, as that is, all of these spikes in volume do kind of correlate to what's the word I'm looking for, areas of interest, if you will. Anyways, the next one would obviously be right here and correlating to this spike in volume. And then we got this guy right here and this one right here. Again, marking off that tailing off of volume over time. So we got boom. Let me just mark it off. There we go. And we got boom. And let me just reduce the sensitivity of my mouse because it's too damn sensitive right now. All right, sweet. There we go. It's getting offended. Okay, sweet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a Fibonacci retracement and just kind of see where these levels do come in around. I already know the answer because, well, I already did this, but there you go. You can see that they are lining up incredibly well with a lot of the major fibs. We have the 382 getting the current low on this spike of volume. We have the 50% retracement getting this low on this spike of volume. We have the 786 getting this low on this spike, and then obviously, well, the full one right there. Not a fib, obviously. Well, technically speaking, it's a fib number, but anyways, that's besides the point. So let's get through it. Anyways, keep all these numbers in mind. And what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go over to Bitcoin in 2019. So I believe it was Rao Pao. I think Rao Pao. How the fuck do you say his name? Rao Pao. RuPaul. He's RuPaul, that fucking that guy who dresses like a woman and does the dancing guys who also dress like women. And how do I know this? Because I've watched every fucking episode. So that's right. I'm open-minded. I watched it with my girlfriend. It's fucking hilarious. It's also very cringe-inducing as well. And that's just my opinion, okay? Anyways, it is actually hilariously entertaining, just in case you're wondering. Just in case you happen to give a fuck. All right, so this is Bitcoin in 2019. RuPaul, whatever the fuck. Sorry, no disrespect to him. It's just your name is too hard to say, sir. He made this observation that Bitcoin in the 2017-2018 run-up was very similar to Ethereum in 2021. Again, not identical, obviously not identical, but similar. And again, that kind of brings up that reference of markets don't repeat, but they rhyme. And what do you know? We have a similar sort of interpretation right here, I would add. Actually, let me find maybe an exchange. Oh, Jesus, man. Let me see if I have a better exchange example, because that one's kind of convoluted, but yeah, this one actually over here will work a little bit better. All right, I'm going to get rid of this because we don't need it, and it's just getting in the view, and I'd like to do this one nice and fresh. Okay, cool. So similar thing going on right here, right? Bitcoin coming off of a pretty devastating downside move from 2018, starts putting the lows over here. We see that same sort of ascending triangle as it does, putting these big spikes of volume on these major areas of interest. This one a little bit less obvious, to be fair. But as you can see, there are still a lot of the same sort of points here. So first and foremost, we got this sort of area right here, marking off this low. We have this area right here, obviously marking off this low, a little bit of a spike of volume there too. This one over here, again, kind of around this cluster of volume. And then we have, the low, obviously. And so if we do the same thing and we put on a Fibonacci retracement for this, well, what do you know? We come up with a lot of the same areas, and actually it should be this area right here now that I recognize it. And then we have this area right here. There we go. And what do you know? 382 lines up with a nice low right there. 50% retracement aligns with this area right here. 618 aligns with this higher low right here, and 786 gets this higher low right here. In fact, probably the most important one actually. Again, all coming on nice spikes of volume on this general tailing off that we do see since a low started to be put in. So putting all these things together, we have a similar formation. We are thus far hitting all the same fibs, and again, it's not like 1-to-1, but pretty damn close as far as the more objective measurements go, or the more quantitative measurements go. We can measure these out with the fibs right here, and we see that these things do align rather well. I would argue actually that Ethereum is just a little bit more. It plays a little bit more technically, and now that I recognize that the 618 also correlates with this area right here on this breakout. So all of these do hold merit, do hold weight, and well, what happened later on for Bitcoin over here, obviously having a pretty nice massive move to the upside before its pre-cycle correction. And is Ethereum doing something similar over here? Maybe yes, maybe. But I do see that there are some similarities. Now, of course, what would negate this? Well, we could very easily see Ethereum take out the current low, thus almost destroying this potential ascending triangle. That would have to be with a daily closure below about 1500. If it does that, then yeah, this idea gets destroyed, and we very likely do see back down to 1300, 1200-ish region. It's gonna look pretty fucking nasty at that point. But for right now, as long as it holds, right? And it's been tested several times in the last almost week now since Ethereum got into this region, as did Bitcoin. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, working on day number 7 today. I'd still like to see it, work its way sideways above this region for another week before I start to be a little bit more convinced by this idea. But as you know, price action is slow as fuck. So, so I'm just looking for new and interesting things to be speaking about here, instead of looking at Bitcoin in the same damn range, as really nothing's changed there. All right. Other than that, we can run through the full rigmarole on Ethereum here. Just looking at the 4-hour HPDR statistical ranges, and what do you know? The 4-hour 50% range lows still holding in price action at 1615 to the downside, versus the top side at 1735, meaning that we don't really see any sort of changes of behavior as long as Ethereum's kind of operating between that region below 15. What was it? 1615 1615 is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, at that point, I do see Ethereum coming down significantly to the low 1500s, 1500 even to 1530-ish region, playing out a full trend line test over here if that does happen. Probably an attempt for a bounce, I suspect, but at that point, it does start to break the Fibonacci relationship that we did outline earlier. So that would be, more concerning for this overall idea. Although, again, I probably would be looking for a bounce there nonetheless. By the same token, anywhere back above 1735, I'm looking for this one to put in a rally, north of 1800. Now, I do think that it'd be wise to compare this against stochastic momentum, similar to what we did for Bitcoin yesterday, because I still have the same opinion on Bitcoin in the sense that, the more that it goes sideways here, the more and more that we're going to see a bit of a bullish reset, but it's going to take longer. It's going to it's going to take some more time. So still about at least a little over a week, I'd say, at least a little over a week, and probably similar for Ethereum as well. And in the meantime, there are still several things pointed to the downside. So that is why I do say in the more near term, especially this next week, maybe even 2 weeks, I'm not like set in stone on a date there, but we do see the weekly stochastic oscillator still positioned pretty heavily to the downside here, as long as Ethereum is below 1773. Now, do keep in mind there is a nice trend line regression coming in from the last few major lows. This was June of 2022 lows, so like the low thus far, and then December 2022 lows, which was this low right here. So I'm talking about this one and this one. Does it come down to officially test this region and then pop back up, marking off maybe the next higher low? Perhaps yes, but that would still imply that we do see another week, maybe 2 weeks of downside as it does fulfill that region. 5-day time frame is also going to be showing downside momentum as long as Ethereum's below 1809. So again, pressure is onto the downside in the more near term. If bear odds want to take over, this next week or two would be the time. 2-day time frame also going to be showing actually upside as long as Ethereum's above 1616. For the next period, and daily is going to be showing down below 1660, which is actually below right now. 12-hour time frame also be showing downside below 1657, again about $10 below as of this moment. 6-hour time frame going to be showing upside above 1621. 4-hour time frame is going to be showing upside above 1593, and hourly is going to be showing upside above 1628. So, still a lot of time here left to go. We see a lot of bifurcation between the higher term timeframes and the lower term timeframes. If it is going to make a downside move, I'd probably expect the lower term timeframes to reset first. Go for a bearish reset, this is, because pretty much all of them are pointed to the upside right now, and then flip down around, and when they all kind of are in concert with each other, that's when I'd be looking for the next downside move, maybe all the way down to 1500 at least, and probably bounce there and then come back to it after that. But if Ethereum kind of still is doing this sideways action coming into next week and it resets again, that's at the point where I'm going to start to say the same thing as Bitcoin, where it's like, hey, we saw this quick dump, no continuation on waning volume. I am inclined to say that this is probably going to be a trap and probably going to try an upside move. Again, that would probably be into middle of September if I had to guess, as we do head into the end of August as of right now. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. Like I said, we'll be back in the regular battle station tomorrow, so all good. Until then, I do want to wish you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow. Oh yeah, one last thing. I'm going to make a Twitter post later today. It's very important. It's not actually that important, but I need your opinion because it's actually very important for that. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. And we'll be back on later. All right, take care.